I just wanted to jump on real quick and do a good check-in and see how everybody's doing. I know that this was kind of a strange week. I was not able to do a Facebook Live video on Monday. And to be honest, I was not prepared for how exhausted I was going to be after this last trip. So I actually had two back-to-back trips, 2 weekends in a row. But 2 weeks ago, I led about 25 couples through some curriculum for the entire weekend. And then this last weekend, I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming with 20 military and first responder spouses. And it was awesome. And we had no connection. So I wasn't able to do a video on Monday. And we were actually supposed to travel back on Monday, only to have our flights not only delayed, but canceled out of Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And that was quite an adventure. And it was a crazy day. And I'm going to actually share a little bit of that with you because it reminded me about this week's chapter. And so that's what delayed me. But we were already making huge connections, had a great time, sometimes spending, sleeping only 3 hours a night. And so it's one of the reasons why I'm tired this week, but it was fantastic. But Monday, we were actually supposed to travel home and go through Dallas again, all the flight delays, and ultimately the flight being canceled due to maintenance issues caused us to make a decision. There was 14 of us left trying to get home on Monday. And we made the decision to rent a 15-passenger van and drive everybody from Jackson Hole, Wyoming to Salt Lake City, Utah, which is about a 6-hour drive, and then spend the night there and fly out the next morning. And that was the best chance we had at getting out of Wyoming. So it was quite an adventure, and we had a great time. And it was stressful, but I have to tell you that everybody had the best attitude. And I thought to myself, man, what better of a community of people to ask them to adapt, improvise, and overcome than this group of military and first responder spouses. So we'd had this great weekend it was relaxing, but they were also doing a lot of really fun things like hiking, archery, shotgunning, and more than anything, connecting as a group of people, finding that sense of community, especially for our first responders who rarely have that sense of community. To introduce them to that was awesome. Some of you listening, hi Kathy, some of you guys have been on that Empowered Spouse Retreat, know what a difference it makes to find that community. So in some ways, I think we gave them 6 extra hours and a whole additional day to bond and find that community with each other. And so I did not get home until Tuesday afternoon, and honestly have been recovering ever since. And so I appreciate your flexibility and me not getting out another video on this current chapter. But I decided to just jump on today and do a quick video. I actually have a session here at 4 o'clock my time, so this one will be brief. But I wanted to touch base with you here just to give you a video this week, and then we will resume the Facebook Lives on my main page on Monday, covering this a little bit more. But you guys should be reading this week, Embrace the Suck. Now, last week was Full Circle, where I shared with you, and I shared some videos and some pictures with the pilots. It's one of my favorite chapters where I really healed a lot of my relationship with my dad, really began to understand him from new eyes, really seeing so many of our service members doing what they love to do. That was the first experience, seeing the Air Force pilots and the crew really doing what they love to do was the first opportunity during that trip really to see the spark in their eyes and to see that this is something that they're passionate about. It's something that they have always felt a love and a calling for, and to see them truly love that, but at the same time miss their family and know that they are asking a lot of their family. That was the first wake-up call for me. I think really to heal that relationship with my dad, to really realize that he could love me and could miss that time with me, even if it was my birthday or Christmas or whatever, and still love what he did at the same time. That was something that they could do at the same time. And that was really important for me, not only in my relationship with my dad, but also with my husband. And I think that that's one of the things that we as spouses, especially if you're a spouse watching, it's really easy to go, okay, they get to go and do these crazy, maybe fun things or these adventures, and they get to go on these adventures. And how can they hold both of those in their hands at the same time? And what does that mean for us to be a part of that mission, to help them and support them do what they love to do? At the same time, know that it's okay for them to love that and enjoy it, even though it takes them away from us. And so that was a huge point, at least in my story, in my trip, during my trip overseas to really see that love firsthand. To sit in that cockpit with those pilots and put on night vision goggles and see the ocean and see the sky through night vision goggles was life-changing for me. And so if you are part of any kind of volunteering with your commander, your unit, or if you're a first responder and you have access to those within the district, some of those bosses that could maybe plan a family event. I can't tell you how important it is for getting the whole family on board, for getting spouses and even children on board, for backing up the mission, for being part of that family readiness to give them these multi-sensory experiences, the ability to put on a helmet, the ability to put on gear and to feel the weight of that. The ability to put on night vision goggles and see what that looks like at night. I know at Fort Jackson, we just left Fort Jackson, South Carolina, and I missed the opportunity to do it. I had signed me and my children up to go and do it, but the commander of the post was giving family members the opportunity to come at night onto post and put on night vision goggles and see them do the obstacle course. And so things like that are crucial for getting the family on board and backing up the mission. So when we get to have those multi-sensory moments where we get to feel the gear, climb in a vehicle, even if it's a police vehicle, even if it's a helicopter, those things are really important to have the multi-sensory experience of getting excited about this really cool thing that everybody gets to do and feel that spark inside of us. And that makes it even easier to support what it is that our spouses are going to do. It gives us just one step closer to understanding our spouse and their mission, so that when the mission calls, it's that much easier for us to support that and go, I understand. I understand the cool factor. I understand why you would want to go be a part of this thing that's bigger than yourself. And that gives us as family members a sense of purpose as well. And so if you are volunteering, if you are part of anything where you can do that, I see I have Erin and Kathy, I know for sure, are veteran spouses at this point, and it's much more difficult at this point for you guys to do something that's multi-sensory. So let me turn off my noisemakers. You may not be able to hear them, but I can, and that's distracting. It's harder for you guys, I know, to do some of those multi-sensory things, but there are things that you can go and still be part of. There are museums for you to tour. There are bases for you to go be a part of. There are things that you can still do to help your kids understand what it was that their spouse did or what you were once part of. And not only does that give you a sense of reconnection, but I think it's going to help you and your kids understand that draw back towards that community. So even if you're a veteran family, I would highly encourage you guys to step back into that world every now and then. Erin, I know that your husband still is part of or involved in working with helicopters still, giving your kids that opportunity to be around that. Let him explain his joy in that or the things that he misses about that. Those are all those ways to still connect as a couple and connect as a family. Part of your story, part of what really brought you guys together in the first place, or what you enjoyed for a big season of your life, and that's super important. So don't think that just because you're a veteran family that this doesn't apply to you. So I wanted to kind of talk about that because that was one of the biggest, most rewarding places during the, you'd think that the Afghanistan trip was like the peak, and we're getting to that chapter if you've not read it yet. That was the peak of my trip. But honestly, a huge moment of healing for me was understanding my dad through different eyes. Seeing in the cockpit what he got to experience was huge, huge for me. At the end of that chapter of Family or Full Circle, to hear the pilots say that their the most amazing thing that they looked forward to seeing out the window, of course, after putting on night vision goggles and seeing how beautiful it was, I just was so in awe of just how beautiful the world is, but also how you could view it from the night sky. And I just was so moved by how beautiful that was. And so for me to ask the pilots, what's the most beautiful thing that you've ever seen outside of your window from the cockpit? And for that pilot to say that his favorite thing was seeing home, put everything in perspective for me, because you can see the most beautiful things on this planet. You can go on the most amazing adventures in your lifetime. But really, when it all comes down to it, it's the fact that everybody wants to come home. everybody, all of us, even us as spouses, we want to come home. And I think that that's what we experienced on our Empowered Spouses Retreat this past weekend. To be able to take spouses on an adventure, to take them to do something that they normally don't get to do. They don't get to just leave the kids and hope everything goes okay at home and go on an adventure into the Grand Tetons and experience shotgunning and archery and hiking. And they get to go on an adventure instead of it being their spouse going overseas and doing something new and different. We got to take them on the adventure. Belva, I don't know if Belva is still watching, but she was one of the spouses that was with us this weekend. It was the first time Belva had ever gotten on a plane, guys. Like, it was incredible. And strangely enough, it was also like all of this heartache trying to get her home she was part of that group with us. And so to take them on this adventure where they got to get away, but then we got to the end of the adventure and they struggled to get home. And all we wanted on Monday, all of Monday, and even overnight Monday night, and even Tuesday morning, all we wanted was to get home. And I think that that's like the message that I want to give to you guys today, is that I know that sometimes we as spouses at home can want to feel like we want to do something cool. We want to do something interesting. And maybe it's exhausting to be that person that is holding down the home front and maybe feeling like that taxi driver. It's one of the reasons why it's delayed me to get you to this point right now to do a video with you, because not only have I had to come home and rest and decompress, but I'm a mom too. And so I have been driving around all day yesterday and all day today trying to get everybody to doctor's appointments and get everybody settled in school and know what's happening in my life. And I get it. It's a lot of just the mundane day-to-day experiences. But at the end of the day, everybody wants to be home. Everybody feels like that's where they want to be. And even though you get the opportunity, even though your spouse gets to go and have these opportunities of an adventure, I think that it's a matter of trusting them, that when they say that their favorite place to be is home, that that's true and that's accurate. And those of you who've been on the Empowered Spouses Retreat with me, Kathy, Belva, Aaron, those of you who've been able to go, that you can testify that even having the opportunity to go on an adventure, at some point that adventure has to end, and that the best part of our life, the best part of what brings us joy in this world is just being home. And sometimes getting away and giving yourself the chance to recuperate and take care of yourself so that you can have that feeling of, this has been great, but where I really want to be is home again, gives us that perspective of maybe we believe our spouse when they say that yes, they enjoy their job, but they also love to be home. And maybe us as spouses can give them more opportunities to actually be home and give them a place to experience home and reinsert themselves back into the family, reinsert themselves back into a place where we need them, and give them opportunities to be needed at home is one of the greatest things that we can do. So I hope you guys have a great weekend. This week, you should be reading Embracing the Suck, where I talk a lot about Herbal Iraq, and it's a great chapter. I will recap more on that chapter on Monday. It is a short chapter. So I hope you guys are enjoying the book so far. Thank you for your grace this week. Please keep in mind that, do you want to come over? My husband is watching with a spoonful of peanut butter in his hands, so he's gonna go. This is what it's like to try to do a Facebook Live video and everybody's home. Say hi. Bye. So that is the recap for this weekend. I'm actually so glad when he's home and he can actually be a part of all of this. And I love to laugh with him and I love to laugh with you guys. So Monday we'll talk more about that video. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thanks for your grace. Have a great weekend and I'll see you Monday.